Welcome back to the PTCB Prep Guide. Today, we are diving deep into crimes and intentional torts. And let's be honest, this is one of the sections of pharmacy law that trips a lot of people up. If that sounds like you, hey, you are in good company. It's a super common point of confusion because all these legal terms sound kind of similar, but they actually work in totally different ways. But here's the deal. What you're about to learn is not just theory. It shows up on real exam questions and in real-life pharmacy cases. And honestly, once we break it down, it's so straightforward, you'll probably wonder why it ever seems so confusing. All right, so to really get a grip on this, we've got to start with the big picture, the two main branches of our legal system. Getting this difference down is absolutely fundamental. Okay, so here's the crucial distinction you need to remember. Criminal law is when it's society, or the state, against a person. Think about the government prosecuting someone for diverting narcotics. The whole goal here is punishment. We're talking fines, jail time, even prison. Now, civil law, that's about one person suing another person or a company. Imagine a patient suing a pharmacy because they were given the wrong pills and got sick. The goal isn't jail, it's compensation. It's about making things right, usually with money. Now, inside that world of civil law, there's a specific term you'll definitely see on the exam. A tort. It sounds fancy, but all it means is a civil wrong that hurts somebody. This is the starting point for most civil lawsuits, from a customer slipping on a wet floor in your pharmacy to something much more serious. So what if that harmful act wasn't an accident? What if someone did it on purpose? Well, that's what we call an intentional tort. The key word here is intent. The person meant to do the thing that caused the harm. This is a huge distinction, and it separates an honest mistake from serious stuff like battery or fraud, which we're going to get into right now. Okay, let's switch gears and jump back over to criminal law for a second. For any action to be officially considered a crime, it has to have two key ingredients. And yeah, the PTCB loves these old school Latin terms, so let's break them down. First up, we have actus reus. This is Latin for the guilty act. Just think of this as the physical part of the crime. It's the action itself, actually pocketing the controlled substance or physically typing a fake billing claim into the computer. It's the what they did. And the second ingredient you need is mens rea, which means the guilty mind. This is the mental part, the intent behind the action. Did they know it was wrong? Did they mean to do it? To actually convict someone of a crime, prosecutors usually have to prove both the guilty act and the guilty mind were there. And, just like to see on TV, not all crimes are created equal. In healthcare, they're split by how serious they are. A felony is the really big stuff. We're talking major fraud, murder, and it's punishable by a year or more in prison. A misdemeanor is less serious, and the punishment is typically less than a year in jail. Okay, so that's the legal theory. But how does this all actually play out in the world of pharmacy? Let's look at some real and sometimes pretty chilling examples of these concepts in a healthcare setting. This is where it gets incredibly real for us. Of course, you have the most extreme cases, like the serial killer nurse Charles Cullen, who used lethal drug doses. That's clear-cut murder. But look at battery. In healthcare, that doesn't just mean a fistfight. It could be as simple as giving a patient a flu shot after they've said no. And this last one is huge for technicians. Scope of practice violations. If a pharmacy tech starts counseling a patient on their medication, that's not just breaking a rule, it can actually cross the line into a criminal act. This next section is one of the most heavily tested areas in pharmacy law, and for a simple reason. Wherever there's big money, there's a big potential for crime. Let's talk about fraud. The number one law you have to know here is the False Claims Act. The message of this federal law is so simple. You cannot lie to the government to get money. For pharmacies that bill Medicare and Medicaid, this is absolutely everything. If you knowingly submit a false claim, that's not just an oopsie, it's serious federal crime. So what does this fraud actually look like day to day? Well, here are some of the classic schemes. Billing an insurance company for a prescription that was never even picked up. Charging for the expensive brand name drug, but secretly giving the patient the cheap generic. Or billing for a 30-day supply, but only putting 25 pills in the bottle. All of these are textbook examples of violating the False Claims Act. And then we have kickbacks. Basically, this is just a fancy word for a bribe. It's when someone gets a reward, could be cash, a fancy gift, you name it, for referring a patient or pushing a certain service that gets paid for by Medicare or Medicaid. A classic example is a drug company paying a pharmacy to recommend their drug over a competitor's. That is a kickback, and it is totally illegal. Okay, let's do a quick check-in. Are these concepts clicking for you? If you're following along and this is starting to make sense, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It really helps me know that these breakdowns are actually useful for your study sessions. All right, let's pivot now to another absolutely critical area of pharmacy criminal law, and that is the handling of controlled substances. The main player in this arena is, of course, the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration. Their job is to enforce the Controlled Substances Act, which is the big federal law that governs every single drug that has a potential for abuse, from oxycodone all the way to Xanax. Okay, you might want to get your flashcards ready because I'm about to give you some numbers you absolutely will be tested on. The Combat Methamphetamine Epidemic Act, or CMEA, puts really strict limits on pseudoephedrine because it can be used to illegally cook meth. The first number to burn into your brain, the daily purchase limit for any one person is 3.6 grams. You've got to know that number. And the second number you have to memorize is the 30-day limit, which is 9 grams. A single person cannot buy more than 9 grams in any 30-day period. So let's say it again, 3.6 grams per day and 9 grams per month. These are classic PTCB questions, so make sure you've got them down. We have covered a lot of ground here. So now, let's boil it all down to the absolute must-know takeaways for your exam. This is a fantastic slide to screenshot for your notes. It puts all the core definitions we just covered into one simple table. Everything from the difference between criminal and civil law to the specifics of the False Claims Act. Seriously, make sure you know these terms cold before you walk into that exam. And look, if you only remember 3 things from this entire explainer, make it these 3. Number 1, criminal law is for punishment, civil law is for compensation. Number 2, billing fraud isn't a mistake. It's a serious, intentional crime under the False Claims Act. And number 3, know your pseudoephedrine numbers. 3.6 grams per day, 9 grams per month. If this explainer helped your studying, please be sure to like and subscribe, and drop me a comment to let me know which topic you want to see broken down next. Your support helps even more students just like you pass the PTCB exam.